Before I open the meeting tonight, I would like to say on behalf of the councillors, officers, our sincere condolences, pass our sincere condolences on to Councillor Brenda Harrison for the passing of her husband. And I would like to commend Councillor Harrison for attending tonight. Item 1, apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chair. I've received a number of apologies from Councillor Ashton, Leedham, Little, Martin Wells, Veronica Nicholson, Smith and Hargreaves. I haven't received any more from the floor of Council tonight.
Moving on to agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Have any members got any interest to declare at this meeting? There is no business required by statute to be done before any other business. Item 4, to approve the minutes of the meeting of council held on the 23rd of February 2023 as a correct record. Are there any questions on agenda item 5? Councillor Brash.
Thanks, Chair. With regard to the question that was asked from the public about car parking charges in the town centre, I'd just like to seek a little bit of clarity, and I genuinely can't remember whether it was Councillor Moore or Councillor Cassidy who said it, but it was reported in the press that was said as well that this was to be considered at a future combined authority cabinet meeting. The press then reported that the combined authority had no plans to consider it. I just genuinely want some clarity if that's possible. Is it being reconsidered by the combined authority or not?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can confirm. It was me who made the statement, Councillor Brash. I'm unsure why the Tees Valley Combined Authority said that, because not Cabinet just gone, but the Cabinet prior to that, I specifically made that request, so it comes as a bit of a strange one.
Councillor Brash.
And I really appreciate that answer, so hopefully that will be resolved at a combined authority level and it will be reconsidered. I've just got one final question, really, for the Leader of the Council in his role as a member of that Cabinet. On the back of that meeting, I and members opposite, including Conservative members opposite, wrote to Mayor Houchen about this issue. And have yet to receive a response of any kind. In the next couple of days, some 41 town centre businesses are planning to write to him, essentially asking the same thing. Could I ask the Leader of the Council in his capacity as a Cabinet member to give the Mayor of Tees Valley a nudge to show some common courtesy in reply to some correspondence?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry to be pedantic, but it's not a question on the minutes, but yes, I will.
Moving on. There are no items under items at 6, 7 or 8. Item 9 is the report of the Finance and Policy Committee presented by Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Chair. I'll actually just make this brief. We've discussed this previously, and all members have the opportunity, including all political groups, to feed in to this report as invited by the Managing Director. It was discussed at Finance and Policy. There was no objection to the proposals at Finance and Policy, though it was noted from members of the Labour Group that they reserved the right to make comment this evening. And on that, Chair, I'll just take the report and if there's any discussion.
Councillor Brash.
Thanks, Chair. We did reserve the right, but to absolutely confirm we're very happy with the action plan in its current form. It certainly gives flexibility for any new administration. The Labour view clearly does have a range of views about how we could implement some of the changes required by this action plan, which we'll happily announce in due course. Just one request, I'm sure it's not controversial, can we ensure that it's reviewed annually after each election, the action plan, to see how it's being implemented?
I can bring annual updates to the appropriate committees, and we've discussed them there.
Does any...
Sorry, I'm just going to say, if there's nobody else here, let's move to the vote. Anyone?
No dissent.
Yeah, that's right.
Does anyone have any questions on the report?
No.
Item 9. 2 is the report of the Constitution Committee presented by the Monitoring Officer, Hayley Moore.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The report before members tonight is to present the recommendations of the Constitution Committee following its meeting on the 14th of March. The recommendations of the committee are set out in the draft minutes, which were sent to all members on the 17th of March. The recommendations of the committee are the introduction of an extraordinary meetings protocol, secondly, to approve the procurement social value statement of intent, to approve a change to section 2 of the planning delegations to the director. However, I'd like, if members would be agreeable, to propose that change be deferred, as was discussed at the Constitution Committee. The full delegation scheme and planning code of practices to be reviewed as we go into PERDA. So I'd like to ask that members just defer that change. The next change is to approve a change to the guidance note on political balance, so that independent members who are not aligned to a political group be grouped together with other independents for the purposes of calculating proportionality. This next one, to approve the deletion of the child and family poverty, health and wellbeing strategy, the housing strategy and the council plan from the council's budget and policy framework list. And finally, to approve changes to part 3 of the Constitution to enable the parish charter to be formally signed and implemented. Members are asked to consider these recommendations.
Does anyone have any questions on the report? Councillor Brash.
We're very happy to accept the deferment to the issue on planning delegations. It seems entirely sensible in the circumstances. The Labour Group only has one objection, as far as I'm aware, with regard to extraordinary council meetings. We don't agree with the additional layer in terms of consultation with the managing director. Now, the reasoning for that is varied, but I would posit just one point. I think it would not be in the interests of a managing director should consultation with that individual take place and then whoever the mayor is at the time then rejects. Clearly 5 members can then call it, but I think that draws the managing director into a political decision, which I don't think is in our interests. I think calling an extraordinary meeting is a political decision taken either by the mayor or 5 members. We'd prefer that to be removed from the protocol for extraordinary meetings. If it's not removed, we would vote against that one aspect of it. Otherwise, I think we're broadly supportive.
Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, I'm particularly happy with all of the things that were reported. Just in relation to the protocol on extraordinary meetings, I chaired the Constitution Committee, and the rationale and the discussion around that was to try and avoid the need for calling full extraordinary council meetings if, as an example that was given, there is a meeting already planned in the diary very shortly following that, which would allow for that item to be discussed. It's basically just to... I completely understand where Councillor Brash is coming from. However, if we look at the example that was given, we ended up calling an extraordinary council meeting to discuss an item that was going to be discussed the following Monday, at a committee. And whilst there is no suggestion in here that the managing director would ever say no to an extraordinary council meeting, it would allow at least managing director the opportunity to explain to the members calling for the extraordinary council meeting that the business they wish to discuss is already on the books.
Councillor Brush.
I think it's just worth pointing out that there's nothing stopping any managing director from contacting a councillor to express their view about any decision that's been taken. What's happening here is that we're setting out a protocol that says that should happen in every circumstance. And I, again, worry, in fact, to be honest, I would expect any, in fact, in that instance, I think there was a conversation with the managing director about it. I would expect any managing director to express their view privately to councillors, but making it part of a public protocol draws them into a political decision, which I think, you know, this week of all weeks, we should be avoiding.
Councillor Creevy.
Yeah, I disagree as well. I think fundamentally, I think it's a knee-jerk reaction to a particular incident, and I don't think we should be changing the Constitution as a knee-jerk.
Mr Mayor, just to clarify, the managing director wouldn't be able to say no to an extraordinary meeting being called. It's a statutory right that upon getting the 5 members' signatures, the managing director has no veto over it. It was just to clear that up.
Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Chair. And I just wanted to move on to the item in relation to the parish charter and to put on on record, my thanks to those members of the parish councils and the parish clerk, Minna Ireland, who took part over a year in what was at times very challenging meetings to pull this charter together. And I dare say at the end of it, there is now a better working relationship between Hartlepool Borough Council and our parish councils than there has ever been. And I look forward to us being able to build on that, moving forward to ensure that the Principal Council can work with the parish councils to make sure that we provide excellent services for the people we represent.
Yeah, just given the dissent, do we need to go to the vote? I think you've indicated that you're accepting of the others apart from the protocols. If we just go to the vote on that point. Yeah. On the extra, on the...
Does it need seconding? Does it need seconding?
Yeah, do we have a seconder for that, for removing that recommendation? Yeah.
Okay, we'll go to the vote, and that's to remove the conversation with the managing director out of the protocol. Okay.
I just want to go by show of hands.
Can we go by show of hands rather than do names? Right, so those in favour of the amendment. There's one of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 15.
Yeah.
And those against. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can't see hands. I think it's carried the amendment.
15, 14. Yeah, 14 again.
So that amendment's been approved by, agreed by one vote, 15-14.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Moving on. There are no items at item 10, so moving on to agenda item 11 is the report of the Finance and Policy Committee presented by Councillor Moore.
Okay, Shane doesn't want to.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is a long agenda item, and if I hope members have gone through it in detail. I'll just refer to it as the scheme. It has a long name, which I read out the finance and policy and probably shouldn't have bothered. To make this quite brief, Chair, this isn't a really important infrastructure programme that is needed for the entire borough of Hartlepool. It's something that has been ongoing for a number of years now, and I'm really pleased that we've got to the point where we're able to press go on this, hopefully, here tonight. We can't, as a town, grow without this new road. We have 2 main roads into Hartlepool at the moment, and neither of them are controlled by Hartlepool, which is a bizarre situation. There have been multiple attempts to try and resolve this matter without going down the compulsory purchase order route, but unfortunately that hasn't come to fruition. And as I mentioned at Finance and Policy, I now hope that if full council approves this evening, then we show everybody that we do mean business. We are going to get cracking on with this, and we are going to continue doing everything that we've been doing in trying to make this town grow. What I would say to members, if they're minded to ask questions or debate this evening, is that if you are minded to sit on planning this year, please be careful of what you say, given we're not this evening talking about the design, the build, or anything. We're talking specifically around the compulsory purchase order. So just be mindful of that fact.
Does anyone have questions on the report?
Not so much a question, Chair. It's just to make a point. It's about time. Rather, it's gone on for quite long enough, and I think it's about time that we do make progress on this particular issue.
Councillor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair. It's just in relation to Appendix 7 of the report, the Equality Impact Assessment. On the face of it, it's an extremely well-written document. It's very comprehensive. It's a welcome departure from other equality impact assessments I've seen that have been mainly blank. However, when you look at the protected characteristics, each one's been rated as having a positive impact. But when you read the narrative that goes with it, it says at this point in time it is not known if participants fall within these protected characteristics. So I'd just like to suggest that perhaps the equality impact assessment process is something that could be reviewed and improved for the future.
We took a report to Finance and Policy this month, Councillor Clayton, on equality, diversity and inclusion, where we actually said we would be doing that, so hopefully. But I agree, this is a more informed equality, diversity report, so hopefully we will improve.
This will have to be a recorded vote, Mr Mayor.
We go to the vote.
So this is in favour of the recommendation set out in the report. Councillor Allen? For. Councillor Boddy? For. Councillor Brash? For. Councillor Brown?
For, with an open mind.
Councillor Buchan? Councillor Buchan? For. Councillor Cassidy? For. Councillor Clayton? For. Councillor Cook? For. Councillor Cowie?
For.
Councillor Cranny? For. Councillor Creevy? For. Councillor Faulkner? Councillor Feeney? For. Councillor Fleming? For. Councillor Groves? For. Councillor Hall? For. Councillor Harrison? For. Councillor Howson? For. Councillor Jackson? For. Councillor Lindridge? For. Councillor Loynes? For. Councillor Morley? For. Councillor Moore? For. Councillor David Nicholson? For. Councillor Reeve? For. Councillor Sharp? For. Councillor Thompson? Councillor Tiplady. Councillor Young. It's just for the records. So. 28 for, 1 abstention.
Two motions have been received under agenda item 12. Councillor Brash.
Thank you, Chair. In the spirit of two things this evening, firstly, it's been a week for cross-party unity, and I think we'll try and continue that now. And actually, in the spirit of unbelievable levels of brevity, it's 21 minutes in, we're on item 12, that's pretty impressive going. I'll try not to add too much to that. I think I had a conversation, again, in the spirit of cross-party unity with Councillor Young before this meeting. We had a discussion about this motion, a constructive one at that. Look, I'm fully aware that this is something that's in train. The decision makers in this regard are the NHS and the government, the Department of Health and the Treasury in terms of the financing of it. And it's in train and they're working very hard. And I would take this moment, and it's at all possible, would like it minuted, that I would pay tribute to our NHS Chief Executive, Julie Gillen, who's obviously announced that she's planning on leaving that post in the not too distant future. And I think as a council we should thank her for her many years of hard work. I knew her when I was the chair of Health Scrutiny, and she did say that was very mean to her at the time, so I feel bad about that now that she's leaving. But I think she could cope. Look, I think we all know that our hospital has been a political football for a very, very long time. And what occurs to me, as someone who comes from an NHS family, his dad was a GP for 30 odd years, the people who work in that building and the people they serve on a day-to-day basis couldn't give the slightest stuff about what a party politician wants to say in opposition to the other party politician about the NHS. What they want is an NHS that works. And I think that we have an opportunity tonight to say to those people who are in the midst of working on what is an exciting project, come to Hartlepool, spend the Department of Health's money here, because you have total political support. It doesn't matter if this council goes red in the future, stays blue in the future, a mixture of whatever colours in the future, we're going to back it every single step of the way. That's the opportunity we have for tonight. And a centre of excellence for gynaecology, for orthopaedics and for general surgery is more than just healthcare. When you think about Sunderland, I think about the eye clinic. When I think about the RVI, I think of the amazing things they do in paediatrics. I want people to think of Hartlepool and think about the incredible work they do in orthopaedics, in gynaecology and in general surgery. That's the opportunity we have with this, to make our hospital a beacon for healthcare in the northeast of England. It will draw in funding, it will draw in patients from across our region. So again, in the spirit of brevity tonight, I want to be able to say, I want to be able to walk out this building tonight and say, it does not matter if you are a Labour politician, a Conservative politician, an independent politician, you're back in this. And I want the people in our trust to know that as they're working with ministers. I want the ministers in London to know that when they're making decisions about this, that there's not going to be any kind of furor, there's not going to be any protest, there's not going to be any political backstabbing or bite or trying to claim credit. I've said tonight, I could have made this campaign me. You may have been aware, Mr. Mayor, I'm running for election and not just in the future. I could have made it, I don't want to. I want to be able to say that Conservatives and Independents opposite agree with me and that we're in it together and that there's not a cigarette paper between us on this issue. So with that in mind, I move the motion. I hope for unanimity and a new dawn for the way we discuss NHS care in our town. Thank you very much, Chair.
Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Chair. Rather awkwardly, I do support absolutely the intent behind the motion, 100% I do, and I will always back the reintroduction of services and any investment into the University Hospital of Hartlepool, as I've always stated. Where I do have concern, Chair, is that whilst I agree with Councillor Brash that this isn't and shouldn't be a political football and that we should all get behind this, What annoys me, Chair, is for the past 4 years we've tried desperately to build a really good working relationship with the Hospital Trust because, unfortunately, Hartlepool Borough Council and North Tees and Hartlepool NHS Trust, until a few years ago, our relationship had completely broken down. In fact, this council had put forward a vote of no confidence in the trust, and we've worked really hard to build that trust and build that relationship between the two organisations since then. And the slightly disappointing part of this is, whilst the plans that we're discussing here tonight are exciting and could herald a really good future for Hartlepool Hospital, it wasn't our news to tell. The Trust themselves, and I have an email from the Associate Director of External Stakeholders, that this hasn't got board approval. This has gone out to the press and it's been discussed before the board have even had a chance to discuss this themselves and make a decision on it. And I think we need to be mindful, all of us, that in future, absolutely we will get behind the Hospital Trust and absolutely we will get behind plans for redeveloping our hospital. But we need to be mindful that we're supposed to be partners in this and we need to be respectful of one another. I will support the motion tonight, but I would like people to be mindful of that fact moving forward.
Okay, let's move on. Jonathan?
Thanks, Chair. And I think it's incumbent on me just to very briefly respond. And I do sincerely appreciate the fact that the Leader of the Council is going to support it. I would just, on a procedural note, make the point that the opportunity to second the motion hasn't yet been given. And I know my colleague behind me is planning to do that. Look, what I want that board to know is that you've got our backing. You've got. I remember, and this is the thing. I remember in this chamber, members of the Hospital Trust being pilloried, non-executive directors, executive directors, chief executives, chairs, being at times, and I have to say I wasn't responsible for this, but at times, basically abuse. And what I'd say to you tonight is, we are being proactive. We are taking a strategic opportunity to say, it's your decision. You get on with it. You see, because they want it. Let's be clear, they're desperate for it. They're already working with the appropriate minister in the Department of Health, Will Quince MP. It's already well and trained. What they can know tonight is, and you'll have no negative from us, you've got our total backing. And I think that's a huge positive. I think they can walk into any room they can and say, Hartlepool and Hartlepool's democratic elected politicians have got your back. But now I will yield for the person I think is going to second the motion.
Councillor Body.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm delighted to second this motion. I suppose I'm one of the few people who've been around long enough to see this all the way through from the beginning, because I remember when Hartlepool had its own health authority, and it actually extended to, and still does, but in another guise, Easington Village and out to Wingate and all the areas between. And not quite as an aside, but an interesting prospect, when we were looking to get control once again of the political landscape in Hartlepool and move away from Cleveland, one of the considerations was to make Hartlepool co-terminus with the health authority's boundaries. That would have given us 230,000 people, which would have been an ideal size for a local authority. Unfortunately, that didn't happen for various reasons. I'm aware that the new trust, because we have a new trust, so whatever happened 4 years ago was 4 years ago with a different trust. The new trust has put a bid in for £380 million to the appropriate Treasury Department and Minister, and we need to show very clearly that as a political authority, as a community of people, that we want the Hartlepool badge to shine brightly and have the Hartlepool Hospital here, because it will be more central to the whole area which it will serve. We had an opportunity to use Wynyard. I think that opportunity is now gone for all sorts of reasons. Stockton's North Tees Hospital, regrettably, is dropping to bits round their ear holes and costs a fortune to maintain. So time is tight, and we've got the opportunity, I believe, tonight to show a clear message that we want the hospital here. We will do everything we can to make sure it works and works perfectly. We are for the centres of excellence, we are for the community provision, and we are for the employment and health opportunities it provides. And if there's any demur, I think it does whoever makes those comments no service whatsoever. No service whatsoever. We can't live in the past, we must look to the future. We owe it to the people of Hartlepool.
I agree with everything you say, mostly. I think everybody in here agrees with you. Go to the vote.
Can we do a show of hands if everyone's in agreement? So we know there's 29. I think it's unanimous. Thank you, Chair.
Next motion. Next motion. Councillor Harrison.
Thanks, Chair. This motion has been put forward because it came to my attention a while ago while having a conversation with my sister-in-law that some of the support offered to women going through menopause was not particularly good. And I have actually had a conversation with our Director of Public Health, and I know that it's been on the agenda, and I know as well that the council have its own menopause policy, which I really do applaud the council for having that. And it does bring awareness to the whole staff. So I think there's a lack of understanding, not only in workplaces and in some families, but I think also among practicing medical practitioners, where they don't quite understand or perhaps find it difficult to offer the right support. So it's a little bit like, as it is with quite a lot of gynecological issues along your life, well, you're a woman, it's happening, so get on with it. And I think that is an attitude which is still there, unfortunately. So this motion is to really raise awareness in all aspects of society, in the workplace, within families, and in the wider community. And that's what this is about. Thank you.
Councillor Moore.
I second this motion. I think it's a fantastic policy. I once made a joke actually just about 2 minutes ago in the best to make me chuckle. But I am going through the menopause at 46, and I've been quite unwell with it the last sort of 6-7 months, and actually have kept it to myself quite a lot. To be honest with you, I didn't actually know I was. It affected my mental health, my motivation, and my friendships and my colleagues and the people I work with. But I went to see a practitioner and spent a lot of time getting diagnosed. I didn't think at the age of 46 it would be something I am going through. But I am. This week I met a 97-year-old lady who been diagnosed with dementia, and she inspired me because she talked about all the things she had done with the women over the last 40 years and all the changes she's made at universities and in her local community. And she kind of inspired me today to stand up and say, I am Councillor Melanie Morley, 4 children, grandmother, solicitor, and job-wise with fantastic friends and colleagues, and I'm going through it. But we share stories, we share support, I had to educate my husband, my dad. My mum then admitted that she went through it and didn't say anything. So I totally believe in this policy and something we talk about. It's the talking that makes the biggest difference. The policy is only great if we all share about it and talk about it. So I second this motion. Thank you.
Go to the vote. Oh, sorry. Councillor Green.
Yeah, thank you. So for too long, women's menopause has been shrouded by taboo, but hundreds of women experience symptoms every day, including depression, joint pain and extreme fatigue. Women's experiences have been ignored and even joked about, but this is a serious issue. Research has shown that 1 in 10 women who've worked during their menopause left their job due to symptoms. 3 in 10 women who've sought medical help have experienced delays in diagnosis, and only 4 in 10 women were offered hormone replacement therapy in a timely fashion. It can't be good for business, and it can't be good for society. Good menopausal support will help to improve productivity and keep more people in work. For the record, I think it's great that Hartlepool Council has released their menopause policy for employees in August last year, but we need to go further. We need for our staff and managers to clearly understand the support that can be put into place both from health professionals as well as their employer if they're concerned about menopausal symptoms. A clear menopause action plan would set out how HBC as an employer will support employees experiencing symptoms. We need to work with HBC's partner organisations, which could include health, housing and education, as well as businesses who contract with us. The aim is to break stigma around the menopause, which affects more than 75% of women, as well as to share good practice and encourage more menopause-aware environments, both for workplaces as well as for general society. A commitment from this council will demonstrate a further commitment to our workforce, of which 72% are women, and almost a third of whom are aged 46 to 55.
Go to the vote.
Again, can we do this by show of hands, Chair? Those in support of the motion. I think it's unanimous. It's unanimous, thank you, Chair.
For item 13, I will hand over to the Managing Director, Denise McGugan, for her business report, which was circulated earlier this week.
Thank you, Chair. I had just the one item today, and it's obviously due to Councillor Ashton's ill health, has been unable to attend recent meetings of the authority, and under Section 85 of the Local Government Act, we need Council to remove, to agree with what's set out in the report. And I think Councillor Young, you want to make something, but I would like to let members know that I have received support from all political parties in this. I know Councillor Young wants to.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just to say that we all share a desire to wish Councillor Ashton well. He's a university student and young, and unfortunately he's going through cancer at this stage, which has hit him quite badly. And I just think that as a collective, it would be nice if we could, as councillors and even officers, could maybe message Councillor Ashton at this time, just to give him our well wishes at this time. Thank you.
Yes. Councillor Harrison.
Can I just suggest, rather than just messaging him, that we actually do something more together? I can't think of the word. Together to show him our support as a full council.
Chair, we can send a card and some flowers.
You finished on that, Denise? Board public question has been received on agenda item 14.
Thank you, Chair. I know Mrs Iredale, I think, is in the audience with us this evening. She's asked me to read out the question. With the Tall Ships Festival 4 months away, and with it being such a prestigious event which will attract national coverage, Hartlepool will be in the spotlight and needs to look its best. There are many areas in the town that people use to dump rubbish. It's very unsightly, can cause health and safety issues regarding vermin and etc. And it is not the image we would like to portray to encourage tourists. What provision are the council taking to get private landlords of properties that get rubbish dumped on a regular basis to clear this rubbish in time for the event? There is a stretch of land between Skern Road and Warren Road that gets rubbish dumped there on a regular basis. By the looks, it has just had the trees trimmed back. Is this area owned by the people of Hartlepool and so comes under the jurisdiction of the council to keep this area tidy and free of rubbish? Opening the Burn Road Waste Disposal Centre without the need to book a slot and provision of skips in troublesome areas will be a step in the right direction and hopefully encourage members of the public to use the provision provided. And this question goes to the Chair of Neighbourhood Services Committee to respond.
Councillor Cassidy.
Thank you for the question. With regards to the booking system at the Waste Recycling Centre on Burn Road, I refer to my early response, which can be found in the minutes of the Neighbourhood Services Committee, which was held on Thursday, the 1st of December 2022. The Community Safety Team have worked in conjunction with local businesses in the Skern Road area, and this partnership arrangement has helped to address the fly tipping issues this location has suffered from. The installation of surveillance equipment has reduced the amount of fly tipping that now occurs and has captured evidence of both vehicle-related crime and the dumping of waste by locals using wheelie bins. This evidence has allowed the team to investigate several instances and pursue further inquiries in relation to such offences. The Council have also established a multi-agency fly tipping prevention group that looks at the steps that can be taken to reduce fly tipping in Hartlepool. Measures introduced since the group was established include blocking off access to some rural locations that had become targets for fly tipping, the promotion of a hotline for members of the public to report fly tippers to, and the purchase and increased use of CCTV in hotspot areas and greater awareness raising through social media. Whilst there is always more to be done, fly tipping in Hartlepool has been reduced by approximately 30% last year. Thank you.
The lady.
After I've tabled that, I should have added quite a lot more, but I didn't. It's been an issue for years. I can remember complaining about it before. I know there's private landlords, and it's been said that if they remove the rubbish, they expected to do it. I would ask every councillor and member to drive round Hartlepool and have a look. It's an absolute dump. I'm ashamed of it. I love the town, and it breaks my heart to see what's happening. And you just seem totally, you're not I better believe. Look, open your eyes and see. There's like ghettos in Loyalty Road and everything. There's absent landlords. Nobody can find who owns them. What are we doing about it? You know, there are people who live in fear because we dare report anything. You know, it's just, it needs addressing urgently. And it's not just for the tall ships, it's for the whole lot.
Can I just reply to that, Chair? If it's okay with you, I can speak to you after this meeting if you'd like. You know, I can speak to you after the meeting if you like, one-to-one. Yeah, no worries, you, Chair.
Councillor Creevy.
There's no debate on a public question.
Sorry, okay.
Point of order, Chair. Can I just make the point that I absolutely accept that there's no debate here and I won't debate it. It does look a little bit ridiculous when a member of the public turns up to ask a question of extraordinary import to the town and we're told as elected members, having heard the answer, fine as it was, that we are not allowed to debate the issue. Perhaps that could be addressed in the Constitution because that looks like an insult to this member of the public and I think that's quite wrong.
I can include that, Mr Mayor, in the next Constitution review.
The stretch of land between Warren Road and Stern, the Stern Road, I'm sure it's public land, and there's mattresses, they dump everything down, and it's just, you go in and it's like that all the time.
Just to point out, it was a Labour administration that stopped that process, but there we go. I just wanted to get up and say a big thank you to Hartlepool Big Town Tidy Up, who do an extraordinary work in the town as well, and just to add on to what Councillor Cassidy has said.
Sorry, the Constitution does not allow debate, whilst we can ensure that we pick that up in the Constitution review. I'm sorry that we can't allow that, Chair.
Just move. Councillor Creevy?
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to confirm what I wanted to say, which is actually that this land that in question is actually owned by Homes England. So it's Homes England that aren't doing what they should be doing. But also, it is also part of the Mayoral Development Corporation, I understand. So it'd be interesting to see what Mayor Houchin does with it.
Right, let's move on. Are there any questions on the agenda item 15? Questions to the chairs about recent decisions of council's committee and forums without notice under Council Procedure Rule 10.1. Councillor Brash.
Chair, this is a question to the Chair of Economic Growth and Regeneration. At the last meeting of that committee, the minutes of which were published recently on of the meeting of the 28th of February, I think the minutes were published on the 7th of March, there was a tall ships update, and I wonder whether the chair of that committee could let us know whether the issue of first aid provision was discussed as part of that update. And if it wasn't discussed, would he be prepared to meet with representatives of Hartlepool Ambulance Charity and senior officers to discuss what they could do to support and provide a service during the Tall Ships event? They're a Hartlepool-based charity. We should be trying to give them as much support as possible.
Thank you, Councillor Brash. I think you've directed it to the wrong chair. I don't sit on the board that looks after tall ships, so it's not something that I can deal with. I'm afraid it's out of my purview. I asked for some information just in the last week and was told that I'd have to give a good reason why I wanted it. So not my department, I'm afraid.
Councillor Brash.
Thank you very much. I'm starting to wonder whether there's anything that Councillor Young's committee does. It gets cancelled that often for lack of business. I'll therefore direct my question to the Managing Director and ask whether she would be happy to take that up on my behalf. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bash. I'll take that forward. Thank you very much.
Councillor Clayton.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I've got a question on the minutes from the Neighbourhood Services Committee that were published at 4:40 today. You will recall that back in December we referred the issue of disabled parking in the town centre to the Neighbourhood Services Committee. Officers have come back with a report and it states that there are 5 pay and display machines in the town centre that are currently inaccessible to disabled residents. Officers' suggestions within this report are that disabled residents can use different machines within the car park, which I'm sure you'll agree is not really acceptable given that there may be some distance away. The other suggestion was that they can use the Ringo app, which comes with an additional cost. So I'd like to ask the Chair of Neighbourhood Services if he thinks this situation is acceptable.
Chair, I'll answer the question as the Vice Chair of the committee and as I chaired the meeting on the day. Councillor Clayton raised exactly the same points at the committee and he received an answer to all of them. So I'd ask if there is an actual question on the minute itself. Otherwise, he has already had the answer to that.
Given that then, as the committee members on the committee were asked basically just to note the report, I'd like to propose that given the machines are inaccessible to disabled residents, that parking charges for blue badge holders within the town centre be suspended until such time as the situation is resolved. I'd also like to suggest that officers within neighbourhood services do a cost and benefit analysis between whether the... So,
I'm sorry to interject, but this section of the agenda is just for questions on the minutes.
Can't make a
not to
proposal.
propose motions.
So I can't propose a motion on the decision that's been made by the committee.
Mr. the Chair.
There's no questions have been received under agenda item 15. There are no questions under 15. At items 15, there are minutes of the meeting of the Cleveland Fire Authority on the 9th of December 2022. Prior to closing the meeting, there's an opportunity for tributes for retiring members, councillors, if they want to say anything.
I think for clarification to members, that is if any members wish to announce their retirement and not stand next year.
Councillor Moore?
Interested, you know. Yeah. Thank you, Chair. I wasn't sure whether anybody was going to make an announcement, but I just wanted to take the opportunity to place on record.
Not yet.
Sorry? Yeah, I know it is. All right. Place my thanks on record, to all councillors who decided to retire this year, and to those from all political parties and none who may not return to this council after the elections. So from me, thank you for your service to Hartlepool Borough Council and for the assistance you've given this council and your residents during your time in office. Some of you have helped me immensely over the past 4 years in my role as leader of this council, and it has been a challenging 4 years, not least at the time during COVID when our world and this council was turned upside down. I genuinely believe that this town has turned a corner though, and there's a huge amount of investment in the pipeline. Investors and business leaders far and wide now see the town as a good place to invest in, and there is generally a feeling that as a town we're pulling up our bootstraps and forging our own destiny. You have all collectively played your part in that. It'll come as no surprise to anybody that's actually been listening to me for the past year that I will be standing down as leader of the council in May, whatever the outcome of the local elections. I've made no secret of this, and this has been my intention for a long time now, as I look to find a better work-life balance, especially since I have a young family. It's been my absolute honour and privilege to serve this town and this council in this role, and I wish the next leader the very best of luck, as I hope they continue to show that there has never been a better time to live, work and invest in Hartlepool. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. There's an opportunity for tributes to the retiring officer, Mr. Chris Little, Director of Resources and Developments. Councillor Harrison.
Thanks, Chair. Can you see me, Chris? This is the reason I came tonight. So on behalf of the Labour Group, I just want to say a big thank you for all the help and support you've given over the years, for your candour, your honesty, for doing an ever-increasingly difficult job with integrity and capability. On a personal note, you're just a bloody nice bloke who's been very easy to work with, always been very approachable. You'll be a big, big miss, Chris. I know you will with the people that you work closely to, but you certainly will with members as well. A big miss. So enjoy your very well-earned retirement, and we wish you every good success for the future, and just enjoy the rest of your life.
Councillor Young.
Yeah, on behalf of the Conservative group, Chris has just gone like that a little bit. It'll be no surprise to anybody. I'm sorry, I'm going to turn my back if that's right, and just address it directly. There'll be no surprise to members and officers that within 9 months I'd kind of become a councillor and then became deputy leader of the council, so it was a bit of a whirlwind. And the first budget that I was seriously involved with Poor Chris, I think, spent about 14 hours trying to get me to understand certain mechanics and certain technicalities. And I think the problem that I had was that I didn't quite understand how it all fit together. And I think that's something that Chris has always understood. And I remember that the Friday before the budget was going to Finance and Policy, he'd listened to all of the groans, he'd listened to all of the moans, and then he rang me and said, is it okay? Are you okay? Have you got a full grasp of it? Do you need me to spend any more time with you? And I think that's the bottom line for me. Chris is somebody who will spend time. He doesn't care what question comes forward. He will give you an honest answer, and he will sit with you until you understand it. And there's been a number of, there's been a number of times when this has happened. I've just walked in on him at times and said, look, this doesn't make sense. And until I understand it, he's been there to help me to understand it. Chris, you're going to be a massive loss to the local authority, a massive loss. And we appreciate everything that you've done. We wish you every good wish, as Brenda said, for the future. And don't be a stranger. Please do come back in and see us. And I may even chew you a bit more even though you're retiring. But feel free to ignore. But yeah, all the best. Thanks very much.
Councillor Brash, sorry.
Thanks, Chair. I'm relatively famous for not being hugely in favour of internal appointments when it comes to this. You were definitely the exception. I knew you in your previous job in this local authority, and I have spent, and I think you'll appreciate this, I've spent many years battling you in committees and various other places, trying to get the answer out of you that I wanted. Sometimes I did, a lot of times I'm not sure I didn't. I think that's to your great credit, because one of the things that has always been a feature of my interactions with Chris is he doesn't tell you what you want to hear. He tells you what's true. He tells you what's a fact. He tells you what is in black and white, what the numbers say, what he has to do, what he has to present, clearly accepting that politicians decide after that. But it's a level of honesty and integrity that is invaluable to people doing our job. The one thing I can never deal with is people who have an agenda. Chris never had an agenda. Chris was always very clear, this is how it is, make your decision. And I'll do my best to support you in whatever way you possibly can. And I cannot place on stronger record the level of integrity that this individual has, and I wish him a very, very happy retirement. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Chair. Chris, I've been a councillor. I was first a councillor in 2003, and when I became Neighbourhood Services portfolio holder, you helped me immensely. And every time I walked past your door, I was in between meetings, and I could see that you were free. I'd pop in and sit, and we'd have a chat. And as has already been said, the integrity, I could trust in what I was saying to you wouldn't go anywhere. You never said you're right or you're wrong. You never agreed with that. You just, like Jonathan just said, you gave us the best possible answers and way forward for the situations that we had. And there was one meeting I remember when we had the mayor, where you came in and told us the situation. And I think you finished off by saying, but if I could find a pot of money, and that used to be the first thing I would say every time I came into your office, have you found that pot of money yet? And the answer was always no. I do remember when we used to have the meetings that started at 7 o'clock and then would go on past 9 o'clock, and we'd have to agree them to go past 9 o'clock. I think you'd nip out for fish and chips before the meeting, because obviously you had a bit of time between 5 and 7. And I've been told that you actually went to different fish shops and used to rate them and give them star ratings, so I don't know which one's the best. And also, I always remember the officers at the time, and I don't know whether you were the ringleader, used to run a book on how long the meetings would be. Yeah? You're going to be sadly missed, Chris. I wish you all the best wishes for the future. You gave us great service to the council, you've given great service to the town. I understand you like to have a bit of dark chocolate and a bit of red wine when you're settling down, so long may that continue. All the best.
Councillor Linbridge.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, Chris, a lot of accolades there, and they're really sincere. It's going to be difficult for me to add words there. I've been working with you probably since I've been a councillor in the last 10 years, and I found you genuinely supportive. 9 times out of 10, I've supported your advice, when you give me that advice, because it's always been based on robustness. That's the one word you used to throw back at me all the time. It's a robust budget, Jim, and whether we like it or not, we have them difficult decisions. You've always shown due diligence extraordinarily, explained things to me which were difficult to understand, but you give me that time, and I really appreciate that. I feel really sad that you're leaving. You're going to be a massive, massive loss, and I wish you and your family all the best in the coming years. Thanks very much.
Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Chair. Chris, I don't have me back to you. I've learned a little bit about Chris over the past couple of years. I thought I'd share with you. Back in 1984, when I was just a 2-year-old, blonde-haired, blue-eyed little boy with an obsession for Thomas the Tank Engine and Postman Pat, a sprightly young lad by the name of Chris Little took up his first job in local government. Starting at Easington District Council, I believe, as an accountant, Chris learned all he could over the years, and I'm told was a very different experience in local government back then, before taking up a job in Hartlepool back in 1992. Since then, Chris has obviously worked his way up through the ranks to his current role as the Director of Resources and Development even. And it's safe to say that your latest role hasn't necessarily been easy for you, has it, Chris? But not necessarily for the finance side of things, because we all know you're a dab hand at that, but really having to get used to grips with your arch nemesis, technology. But for those of you who don't know, during COVID, we did drag them out of the Stone Age a little bit and managed to, I think we got rid of your Nokia 8210 and got you a smartphone so you could use WhatsApp. So we got them there eventually. But on a personal level, I've had the pleasure of working alongside Chris on almost a daily basis for the last 4 years. His dedication, patience and ability to largely stay calm has been invaluable, and that's just during the occasions when I've required him to break the complex nature of local government and jargon finances down Barney style for me. I hope this has been an invaluable lesson for you as well, Chris, and I hope that I and other members have equipped you with your next task, which will require you to teach your grandchildren why they don't have enough money for the ice cream they want on a weekend. But in all seriousness, no, Chris, you have been a fantastic asset for Hartlepool Borough Council. You've always been helpful to all elected members and allowed us to navigate, or helped us, to navigate the challenging financial landscape. And most of all, to ensure that this council's on the best financial footing possible so that we keep thousands of people in jobs and we look after the most vulnerable people in our town. I'll certainly miss your knowledge and guidance, but I take comfort in the fact that you've developed a fantastic team around you who I know will step up and continue delivering quietly, as always, in the background, just as they always have done. So thank you very much, Chris, and enjoy your retirement.
Would you like to say a few words, Chris? Put you on the spot.
I wasn't expecting that, because I was convention. It's absolutely was made. There have been challenges with members, there is a give and take, but I've had an absolutely wonderful career. It's been a privilege working here. But I think to me, I said at FNP, I can only do my job as the team that backed me, and it is the team that allowed me to shine. And I'd like just to put a record that the team has been great. At that point, I'm feeling I'm going to crack up something to sit down. Thank you all very much for your kind words. It really means an awful lot. I'm going to miss work tremendously, but I think because of what went through last year, now is the right time to do something. So thank you all very much for your kind words and best wishes to everybody.
Before I close the meeting, one more little announcement. This is my last chair, and I would like to thank everybody for their support. I've thoroughly enjoyed my year as a chairman. A little green behind the ears somewhat, but I have enjoyed it. And I would like to mention an email I got from Councillor Harrison telling me how to use the gavel. Not how to use the gavel, but use the gavel. So I asked her, do I bang it or throw it? I never got a reply. Again, I would like to thank you all for your support. I would like to thank Councillor Veronica Nicholson for being my consort. She's been brilliant for me. And I would like to thank my deputy, Dennis Lyons. I know I go until the 26th of May, but I would like to mention him. So thank you all for your support. Thank you all. Close the meeting. That concludes tonight's meeting.
Please stand.
Give me some warning, Brian.
Right, I'll let you go with it.
Sorry. Any minute, right?